Okay.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to call the meeting to order at 4:01.
Should I second? So I can
Yeah.
second.
Yay.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Tamara.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and I guess we can do roll call. So Jost
Here.
and Puzo here. And we'll say that we're waiting on Mick to call in. Okay. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at the many policies that
Yeah,
were?
there was a lot.
And do you want to approve the minutes of the last meeting first?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the policy committee meeting of July 2nd, 2020.
I will second that motion.
Okay, and I will say yes for approval. How about you?
Yes.
This is so bizarre to just like.
I know when at committee meetings it's odd.
Okay, so I
Keep you on
guess
your toes.
we have approval.
Okay.
And as far as I know, there's no public comments on the agenda, so I think.
No, I don't see anyone, and there's no one waiting to be let in or anything in the waiting room, so we should be good.
Okay, cool. All right, so we've got like 9 different
Yeah, I
policies
saw all those.
to make sure that we have a little conversation about. And
Yeah, as I said in my email when I sent them out, we normally don't review this many at once, but I wanted to kind of get us back on the quarterly review schedule. And a lot of these don't have substantive changes, just more grammatical and formatting changes. So hopefully they weren't too onerous to review, but
No.
certainly we can go through them one by one.
They were
actually,
actually answer some of my questions, because I always wondered, like, what is, like, I know we don't do like overdue fees, but like, is there, like, can you keep it forever and it's just yours? So it was nice to like read, it's 2 weeks. So like that's, like long overdue is 2 weeks. So it's interesting as a library patron to know that. So I was glad to review that.
yeah, I always learn things as I read
I
through
know.
all the policies. And now some of them are coming up. I've reviewed them in the past, like the proctoring thing. So
well, all the policies, we try to review them every 2 years, unless like the capital assets one, we review every year. There's only a couple of policies that, let me take a step back. So we try to review our policies every 2 years, unless we have to review them more frequently, or if a procedure or something changes that we have to change a policy. But just on the normal review schedule, it's every 2 years. The only ones that we're required to review, or policies that we're required to review on that schedule or more frequently than every 2 years, are the collection development policy, which we are a little bit behind on, but we wanted to do some work on that with everything else going on. It's been difficult for me and the department managers to sit down and kind of hammer that out. That is in the statute that policy needs to be reviewed biannually, so every 2 years. And then, like I said, the capital assets one, as per the policy itself, it is reviewed every year. But other than that, our review schedule is based on just what we decided works best for us and just keeps us as most up to date, because we usually find, we want to change a wording, or change the formatting slightly or something like that, or sometimes just something minor changes. So it keeps us on our toes in terms of making sure that our policies match our procedures and that our procedures follow policies. So
yes, and also I think since we seem to get new trustee members, it helps. We usually onboard them into the policy committee, and it's a way to learn more in depth about how things happen at the library.
Yep. Well, just like you guys said that, every time that you review one, you learn something a little bit more about, how things are designed and work. Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, so proctoring is the first one, and I'll just chime in that I took a look at it and it seemed fine to me. Like, I agree with you, Pam, you had nothing for it to change, and I don't either. How about you, Tamara?
I did not have anything to change.
Okay. So let's go on to spending policy.
Oh, I went to the wrong one. Spending. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I
don't.
Pam, I in the very first sentence, I'd like to recommend where it says expenditure of all library funds, I'd like to make it Morton Grove Public Library funds. It seems like
Okay.
all the other policies mention Morton Grove Public Library in the first sentence, and I like that for consistency's sake, to be
Okay.
specific that it's.
Do
the
you
Morton
want
Grove.
it to say that, or would you like it to say the Morton Grove Public Library Board of Trustees is responsible for approving? We can add Morton Grove Public Library funds if you want to do that, or I don't know if you wanted to be more descriptive about the Board of Trustees.
Okay, we could move it to,
Does that address your
Yes.
concern about that, Lima?
yes, it does.
Okay.
And then in kind of keeping with what you just said, Pam, if we look at under number 4, the last sentence, it just says the Board of Trustees. We could make it the Library Board of Trustees.
Okay.
And then it'll match what it says in point 5, again, for consistency, the last sentence
Okay.
there. So 4 and 5, those last 2 sentences will match.
Okay, got it.
And then under point number 3, where it says, and other normal recurring items, I would suggest normally recurring items. Just make normal to normally recurring.
We can. Okay, that's fine. I see them as slightly different, but I'm fine with changing that to normally.
So how do you see it? I'm just.
So I'm trying to think if there's a better word to use. So
Like regular.
yeah, I mean, maybe that's and other regularly recurring items. Like, for example, there's some things that I know I'm going to renew every year that, you know, they just become part of the budget. I don't normally have to, I mean, if
So we
maybe
could say
regular.
routinely, regularly, whatever.
I'm trying to think. Normal recurring items.
But you see what we did when we said regularly, so
Mhm.
normally, the word is fine with me.
What do you guys think about and other regularly recurring items?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I like that better than normally. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I will change that.
And I'm okay with the changes that you recommended.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to, so for the first one where I added whenever possible, you know, we always try to get 3 quotes for items, but there are some things that there just aren't 3 vendors out there, or they're, you know, vendors are unresponsive. So, you know, I wanted to give us some wiggle room for those situations. And then on number 3, authorized to renew contracts, because a lot of, again, that kind of falls under those regularly recurring items, is that I renew a lot of our contracts just because as a matter of doing business and stuff. And I typically won't bring those to the attention of the board unless it's something out of the ordinary, or like I said, it's a major new contract. So I wanted to include that because there wasn't really any place in here that was reflected.
Yeah.
And then number 4 builds on that, where you know, we've already said, okay, if I can regularly go, if I can without getting board approval, if I can, you know, renew any contracts that we have, then I wanted to point out for number 4 that entering into new contracts would require board approval.
That makes sense.
Any other changes?
I do not see, not for me.
Not for me either, Pam.
Okay.
Capital assets.
Okay, now for capital assets,
Mhm.
the only thing that I would change, Pam, is in the first paragraph where it says library director, make it executive director.
Thank you. And this is a policy that was created in conjunction with the investment manager from PMA, who we do our investments with. So I tend not to make too many changes to this because I'm not a financial person. So, you know,
Yeah, reading that just reminded me, I had been asked to provide some feedback to Sikich.
oh, yeah.
And the timing of that, I had just watched Bad Education with Hugh Jackman.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I was freaking out. Tamara, if you don't know that movie, Hugh Jackman plays superintendent of schools on Long Island who embezzles like $11 million of funds. And the board was oblivious. And I was like, oh my God, what if that happened to me? It was
I haven't
terrifying.
seen that one yet. I need to get it. Maybe I'll try to get it from the library.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah,
we're good with-
we have a number of checks and balances in place that,
Yeah.
that would potentially keep, trust me, I have not embezzled $11 million.
No, but you know what, Pam, I was just thinking in terms of how you can, as a board member, you can go along thinking everything's just
Yeah.
fine.
Right,
And then
Yeah.
in retrospect, you'd go like, what was I thinking? Why didn't I ask questions?
right, yeah.
So that was a little scary. So I was glad to see we have capital assets policy in
Yep.
place. Very good.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
so I will make that change from library director to executive director. Anything else with this one? Like I said, I tend not to make too many changes because it was put together by a finance person.
No,
I didn't see any.
No, it's fine.
Great.
All right, social networking next. And that, I mean, the library has done so
Oh my
much.
gosh. The Bernie Sanders meme was like my favorite of all the Bernie Sanders meme. That was hysterical. I thought
It was funny.
really cool job.
I
Yeah,
actually,
we had a department managers meeting this afternoon, and Chad said that that post has gotten the most interaction from
yeah,
So he's
Yeah,
like,
oh, I
clearly I need to be,
completely-
looking for more memes and stuff. But he brought it into me the other day. We were both at the library, and he said, he came in with his phone. He says, is it okay if I post this? I said, oh yeah, absolutely.
And you guys were like one of like the first ones. It wasn't like a lot of the ones that did it after were like, way ever. And
Oh, okay, yeah.
you guys were like right at like the cusp of everything. So
Yeah.
it was pretty neat to
Yeah, it was
see.
cute.
it was
cute.
fun to see the library as a trendsetter because you're right, Tamara.
Yes.
You were one of the first. In fact, I did a double take. I'm like, is there another Morton Grove on the East Coast? And then I'm like, what is this? And then I was like, it's got to be a joke. It was so funny. And
Yeah.
my husband had just said that when he sees things that are done by the library, they always look so current and fresh.
Yeah.
And like when you look at other, or even like the Village,
Mhm.
the logos and the fonts and all that
Yeah.
are much more conservative, much more.
We are, it has been great having, 3 dedicated people to marketing. I think that has really upped our game,
Oh, yeah.
certainly. But we are also so fortunate to have 2 really great graphic designers on staff. And that's just, a function of where they live. I mean, they both, Bettina lives here in Morton Grove. Karina grew up in Morton Grove, and she lives in the city now, but her parents still live here and stuff. And we've just really gotten so lucky, and it's made such a difference. I mean, in terms of the look and feel of the stuff that I think that we're putting out, I think it does. I mean, that's a nice testament. I'll be sure to pass that on to them because it is one of the things that we want. I mean, it's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. We're a smaller library and stuff, but we're really doing a lot of really kind of, not necessarily cutting edge, but we are trying to stay modern, and we're not just, I know people are always surprised, like when they walk in the building, because the outside of the building doesn't match the inside. or our services, right? It looks like, oh, this nice little neighborhood library, which is fine, but we're so much more than that. So,
Oh yeah.
but I will pass that on to marketing because I know that they would like to hear that, Lima. So.
I mean, I've been going to this library for over 40 years, and I can tell you it has really become something phenomenal. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so focus. Social networking.
Sorry about that.
If I can make a suggestion.
Sure.
First, under the 2 first bullets, the paragraph right underneath that second bullet, it says Morton Grove social media accounts are open to, and you crossed out posts and. So I'm wondering why we're removing it, because I think we say posts in other spots.
Um,
Yeah, like if you
possibly,
look at the other bullets, like below, the third and the second from the bottom, we say posts and comments, posts and comments.
Okay.
So,
so I think Chad had actually suggested removing that, and in that particular sentence, we don't allow patrons to post. We allow them to comment, but your point is well taken that we say posts further down.
But I think
So,
it's like for them to approve it, because a lot of times when like you're in charge of a website, I notice like people will like put like, oh, common, you know, have this business, and they'll like post on the library webpage, and then it just gets like, you know, it's hard to like go and like filter through and find stuff from the library actually, because I noticed that with like the garage sales and stuff, like
right.
just it's like a free for all. So you're just saying they can post, but they would have to approve it, right?
Well, we don't approve comments.
Okay.
And,
Oh, I mean,
and
posts.
actually, they're not allowed to, right. So any post, so probably now that, talking it through, we might want to leave that in. Or probably what I'll do is remove posts from other parts of the policy. Like say, so leave it comments up there, and then down where it says posts and comments that include insults, we'll just take out the posts and we'll just be comments that include
Okay.
insults.
I just thought as long as we're being consistent, standardized throughout.
Yeah,
So either we leave it.
I'll remove posts from other parts of that, because really we don't allow people to post anything new. We allow people to comment on what we post.
Gotcha.
So is that,
Gotcha. Okay.
so I think what he was thinking about was post was kind of the original the original thing that we put out there, and that what we're allowing patrons to do is comment on that post.
Got it. Okay. So
So,
yeah, then,
but I will remove posts from the rest of the,
yeah, I think there's just two more, the third bullet and the second from
yeah, I'll do that from the other bullet points.
Then the only other thing I have that caught my eye is it might be necessary to mention how frequently the staff reviews and takes corrective action. Because we don't, like, if someone puts a comment on there, does it stay for a few days? Is it caught right away? I don't
It's
know
usually
how that-
caught right away, but we would typically not include a time frame in the policy because it's a little bit more of a procedure. So for example, Chad is responsible for reviewing all of those things. So however, if he was out sick one day or something like that, we might not get to something within 2 or 3 hours. It might be a day. I mean, he, like I said, typically he catches things really quickly. So I'm a little reluctant to include a time frame because I can't guarantee that time frame.
Or should we even say that staff reviews and takes corrective action? We could leave out a time. To me, it just crossed my mind that if I have a social networking policy, is it helpful to explain that the comments are reviewed, and if necessary, especially with what's happened this past year on social media, there's been so much vitriol and negative disinformation that's posted, and it seemed like maybe it would help to know that there's corrective action, there's review and corrective action. But that's just one person.
So we do say at the beginning that staff moderate the content of postings and comments. And then at the bottom of the bullet points, we do mention that we reserve the right to remove content that does not comply with the above policy.
Oh, right.
So did you want something in addition to those comments or those points, Lima?
You bring up a valid, yeah, I see what you mean. Okay,
because we have been fortunate that we haven't had I'm trying to think, it's been a while since we've actually removed content. We do try to, I mean, if someone, shows any kind of good faith, when they make their comment, we do try to respond to them. So like I said, we've been lucky that we haven't had to really remove content, but I feel like this kind of covers that, here's the rules, and, we moderate the comments, and, we reserve the right to remove them if necessary.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm cool with that. Tamara, are you okay with anything else in there, or?
No, everything else seemed spot on. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Interlibrary loan policy.
The ILL.
Tamara, you got anything on this?
I do not, but I was interested as a patron, because I didn't know it was like 10 interlibrary loans.
So this policy was originally developed, obviously before, we've had it in place for a while, but it was developed before we joined CCS, which is why I added the sentence that I did. So because if you're doing what we call intra CCS loans, from library consortium, there's virtually no limit. So what we're talking about here,
I thought this was
no. So that's why I tried to differentiate that, saying that this does not apply to material that is either requested from or received by libraries within the consortium.
Makes sense.
So this is if we have to use OCLC to go outside of the consortium or outside of the state, that kind of thing.
How often after getting, how often do you use this?
We still get, so before we joined CCS, we had more because we used, everything was an interlibrary loan, right? When you're a standalone library, everything becomes, outside of your library. So we had a lot more than we do now, but we still probably get.
I'm just curious.
It's hard to say right now because the pandemic and curbside and those kinds of things have changed this a little bit, but there's still, 5 or 6 a week kind of thing. Not a ton.
No, I know I had one this year, but that was it.
Being in CCS has really, changed this, but this policy does apply just to items that are not within the shared catalog.
Okay.
Pam, what do you think of this? I noticed on the agenda, it says, excuse me, it says interlibrary loan. And then on the title on the actual policy, it's plural, loans.
Yeah, I'm going to change that. On one of my versions, I had crossed that out, so I will take that out.
Take the S out, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's singular throughout.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's all I had on that one. Oh, wait. Let's,
Okay, it's me.
I don't know. Now I'm looking at this. I don't know if it's worth mentioning. On the backside under loans to other institutions, I put an asterisk under books, magazines, and audiovisual material, and then took that last bullet and made that as the asterisk as explaining the first 2 bullets. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because really that last bullet is referring to.
Yeah, I think what I will do is move that up either as a parenthetical after books and magazines, that, either say something like in state only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In state, okay.
Yeah, so I think for books and magazines, yeah, I may change that around before the, probably what I'll do is I'll break out, I'll put magazines and audio visual together so that I can say that that's in state only and leave books as a separate category. Does that make sense?
I like that.
Yeah, so that way, so then we'll have 4 bullet points. Well, books will be just one by itself, magazines and audio visual material, and we'll say except for video games, but then I'll include that's in-state loans only, and the microfilm will be in-house use only.
Okay, cool. This is my, in the past, I was an instructional designer, so
No, that's fine.
that kind of stuff
Yep.
catches my
No,
eye.
that's why it's helpful to have a number of people, look at these, because, I look at them, the department managers look at them, and then it's we have a tendency to see what we expect to see sometimes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And because we're so steeped in so much of this, it's always helpful to have someone who isn't, to look at that and say, does this make sense the way that it's presented? So that's totally fine.
Okay. I've got exhibits and displays policy next.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question is, are you taking "and" out and making it like,
That was a suggestion, so I put that in there, but after I sent this, I think I'm gonna go back to spelling it out.
yeah, please, because then throughout it, it says exhibits and displays without
Yep.
the ampersand. So-
Yeah, after I sent this out and I was reviewing again everything after I sent out the packet for you guys, and I think I'm gonna leave it as the spelled out word.
I think that makes sense. Okay, and then just out of curiosity, in the public posting policy, we have a similar sentence, the very last sentence in the first paragraph, where we're talking about cultural, educational, informational needs. As a suggestion, should we make them both the same? Like public posting policy has educational, cultural, intellectual, or charitable. If they're two separate and distinct things, I'm cool with that, but I saw it as an opportunity for consistency. Because the two policies are somewhat similar.
They are somewhat similar. They do differ in that when we're talking about the exhibits and display policy, we're usually talking about things that would be hanging in the Baxter room, anything that, if we wanted to put some other type of display throughout, or at other places in the library. The public posting is where we have our bulletin board, and so we do allow a little bit more. So we wouldn't have a display, for example, or an exhibit by like a charitable organization in the same way that we would allow maybe the United Way to come in and put their poster on the public posting board.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So they are different in that way. So that is why they don't exactly match that sentence.
Got it. All right, I'll cross that out. Other than that, I think it looks good. You okay with it too, Tamara?
Yep. Looked good to me. I always wondered like if people just put stuff up, or if you guys, were in
It's a combination. It used to be that we vetted everything, like, people would bring it to us and then we would decide whether or not it could go up. And most people will still come and ask if they can post something. And every once in a while, we'll find that someone has put something up there that we're not aware of. So when we're open to the public, Marlene, one of the adult services librarians, is actually in charge of kind of keeping track of what's up there and cleaning it off, and, making sure that there's not some sign up there for an event that happened a month ago, that sort of thing. So we do a little bit of a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Okay, and then speaking of public posting, that's next.
Public posting.
I noticed on exhibits and displays, we do mention that the library determines scheduling and duration. And that's why I think it makes sense to consider putting in duration under public postings as well. Something like library determines duration of public materials posted. In other words, how long do they stay up there, Pam?
Yeah, it depends. So let's see.
I mean, if we determine the duration of the exhibits and displays, it seems like we should also be doing the same for the public posting stuff.
Well, it's slightly different in that the only way we're determining the duration is, if space becomes an issue or if something has passed due, like the event has passed or something like that. So the exhibits and displays, we're actually scheduling those, like, in the normal times, right? And before times, and hopefully once we reopen again to the general public and people can start coming in the building. Our exhibits are, we're on like a calendar year and we're actively looking for or soliciting, displays for that space. And so we will determine that, okay, someone can have February because we know we've got something else in March and April. So we're not keeping track of the public postings in that same way. We're not scheduling those. It's a much more casual approach. However, I'm happy to add something. I mean, we can add something. I mean, certainly if that space gets overcrowded with stuff, we would
Yeah,
look
it's
at.
not like when I volunteered to go into the neighborhood businesses and put, it's like on a schedule. It's a bulletin board, but you remove it and refresh every month or whatever it happens to be. So I'm not saying we have to say it's weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever, but just that the library determines when the stuff comes down.
Okay, I will add that. Yeah, let me just make a note of that. It'll probably be either as part of, I'll either rework the all postings and or displays are subject to space availability. I might try to include it in there, or potentially another bullet point right after that, because that would be in between the subject to a space availability and then we reserve the right to, remove post displays and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Then we've got public comment policy, and on the agenda, Pam, I say we correct public comments, take off the S, just on the agenda, just to match the
Yep. To match
policy.
Okay.
comment.
We probably won't change it on the agenda because the agenda has been posted already. And
Oh,
so there's no, so it's fine. I mean, it doesn't, the agenda is put out to the public so that they understand what is going to be discussed at a board meeting. So we don't have any reason to go back and correct that.
got it. Okay.
So.
Tamara,
That's
you
why,
have-
like, sometimes, like if I've posted, this has happened to me once here. So for example, if for some reason I made a mistake on an agenda and it got like a mistake in, forgetting to include a resolution or forgetting to, include an item, an action item. If it's within the, if it's within 48 hours before the board meeting, we would not be able to discuss that item. So because it wouldn't be on the agenda, so we wouldn't be able to take any action on it. So
Yeah,
the
there's
agenda is,
time limitations. Okay.
yeah, and so, yeah, and the purpose of the agenda is to give the public, the general public, a good idea of what's going to be discussed.
Okay.
I didn't see any changes. I think all your changes were good, as well as like the additional time, like changing it to allowed instead of provided, I think was a good change. So I didn't see anything else.
Except that it says each speaker is allowed and then additional time allowed.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what, maybe additional time is granted.
granted, yeah, because
Okay.
I just, granted,
Yep.
that's,
Yes, that's good.
You like that?
yeah, granted.
Also, the very last bullet, where it says not a question and answer period, I put a comma and the board is not obligated to respond. So comma after period. Just because it says an answered period and the board.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Tell me if this makes sense. In the second paragraph, the last sentence where it says public comment policy will apply, how about we make it more assertive and say applies? Not will apply, but applies to regular, special, and committee.
Okay.
That's it from me. Tamara, are you okay with the rest of it?
Mhm.
Cool. Okay, library card policy. I'll start it off by the very first sentence. Let's make it, instead of a library card, let's say a Morton Grove Public Library card. Once again, just because the other policies all start off like that.
Yep.
And then your changes make sense to me down at the bottom of that first page, Pam.
Okay.
That sounds good.
This is for yours.
Yeah. If you go to, I guess it's page 3 at the bottom, we need a parenthesis closing off with the sentence that started with a parenthesis, not,
Oh, I see. Yep.
Yeah.
Where it starts where if necessary.
yes. And then the only other thing that I had, Pam, the very last paragraph where it says non-resident property owner,
Mhm.
let's make the R a capital and it'll match the
The
non.
first
Oh.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's cool the way you remember about the 3 years and purging from the system, because if you hadn't put that in, I don't know if I'd remember about the changes. I'm like, Pam, she's on top of everything. She remembers it all.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about, especially as we, make changes and stuff like that. And then every once in a while, we'll all be sitting there going, wait, is that before? What's the, and, you actually have to go and check and make sure and make sure that, what our procedures match the policy and policy match procedure. And
Honestly, I didn't even know we had like all these different business use cards, homebound patron card. What? Never heard
Yeah.
of the thing.
we don't get a lot of business use cards. We do have a fair number of homebound patron cards. So, and usually those are kept, sometimes they're kept in the library. Usually they're kept in the library. So Marlene is actually responsible for pulling materials for our homebound patrons and delivering those. So,
Wow.
yeah. And then we've got quite a few school use cards as well.
All right. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Did we just go through all of it?
I think that we are finished. Yeah. I learned so much going through.
Oh, guys,
Good.
we did it. We did it in under an hour. Woohoo!
Good. So then,
Can I make a motion to recommend the approval of the policies with the revisions as discussed?
yeah, so you're not really approving the policies. What you would do is make a motion to recommend to the full board approval of the policies as revised or something to that effect, because the committee can't take action by itself. You can make recommendations to the full board. So what you can do is you can decide to recommend to the full board that they approve the policies with the revisions as you know.
Like at the next meeting, you're saying?
You would make that now, just so that it's in the minutes of your meeting that the policy committee agreed to recommend to the full board that they approve the policies as revised, or something like that.
Okay.
Just
I'll make a motion to recommend to the full library board that the board accept and approve the policies as the policy committee has revised.
I second.
I'm just writing down the motion.
You know, this was fun just doing this because it's been so long since we got together, and I feel like you got us back on track, Pam. You've had
Yeah, that's my hope, is that, you know, as things.
but we got it done, you know?
Yeah. And so then the only thing then would be to set the next meeting date. If we try to get back on our quarterly schedule, we're a couple months behind right now, or 1 month actually. So the next meeting would be sometime in April. We usually try to do it before the board meeting so that, you know, at that. So let's see.
April 8th is the board meeting.
Okay.
Let's do it April 1st, like April Fool's joke. I don't. Let's see. When does it?
I mean, that works for me if April 1st works for people.
That would be okay for me. How about you, Tam? Are you good with that?
Yeah, I should be back by then. Yep. So
Oh, where are you off to?
we do 4 p.m. because I work that day.
Oh, off of work.
Yeah.
So is 4 p.m. an okay time then on that day? Okay,
Mhm.
so,
That way, like nobody calls me and bugs people.
right.
I can focus.
Okay, so we will tentatively schedule the next meeting for Thursday, April 4th at 4 p.m.
Perfect.
April 1st, didn't we say?
It probably will be a Zoom meeting still, just as, you know, I mean, because we'll still have stuff crammed into the Baxter room and, you know, who knows, but obviously we can change that as necessary as it gets closer, but that will be our next scheduled date.
Okay. All right, then I guess I'll motion to adjourn at 4:43.
Awesome. Do I have to second or anything? I second.
Adjournment
second
is one of
meeting.
those things that, you know,
Like, do I second or?
some places say you don't have to motion to adjourn, that you can just announce you adjourn, and then other places do the motion to adjourn like we do, so, yeah. Okay,
All right.
well, thank you, ladies,
Under an
very
hour.
much, and I will make these changes and revise the policies as we've discussed, so that, and they will be in the board packet for our next meeting, so.
Perfect.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you,
Great.
Pam.
Thank you. Have a
Stay
wonderful
safe,
night,
stay
guys.
warm, all that other good stuff.
Stay safe.
I see you guys later.
Okay.
Bye.
take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.